Welcome. Welcome to this commencement ceremony of Elmhurst College. Welcome to the graduates. You have worked hard to get here today. Welcome to the families. You have helped these students along their way. Welcome to the faculty who have taught and guided these students. The hash bell has rung to open the ceremony in keeping with Elmhurst College tradition. Faculty have donned their academic robes, symbolic of knowledge, scholarship, and the liberal arts. And I will open this ceremony with the words with which we open each academic convocation. The company of scholars is assembled. Let this commencement ceremony begin. And now I will call on Father Anthony Tosqueda to lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. O merciful, loving, compassion, and present one, today we step out. Today we leap from the ledge without a net. Today we don't just put our toe in the water, we're diving in, head first. And the water's cold. But that's okay. We're ready. We hope. Actually, we pray. There is a saying that when we step out on uncharted waters, that she or he, quotation, doesn't have a prayer, unquote. Truth is, Lord, that's all we have. And in a way, that's all we need to walk on water. For in these years at Elmhurst College, these hallowed halls of higher learning, we have learned. And now we know for sure. What do we know for sure? We know that we don't know. And now that's a sign of true higher education. Today we find ourselves atop the education ladder ready to leap off. And indeed, it is a leap of faith. This is what we know. For what has been, thank you. For parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters and teachers and administrators, friends, even foes alike, all who have formed us into who we are today. For what has been, thank you. And for what will be, yes, yes, yes. And so today, a leap of faith, and all we have and all we need is a prayer. In your holy compassion, mercy, and presence we pray, and the people said, Amen. That was your part, you know.
You may be seated. First to address us today is candidate for the bachelor's degree, Felicia Diaz, who is graduating today.
Good afternoon and welcome. First and foremost, thank you for your presence here today and joining us in celebrating the success and achievements of the 2013 graduating class at Elmhurst College. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak on behalf of my fellow graduates and to my fellow graduates as we transition into the real world, where 4 or so years of hard work and, let's be honest, hard partying paid off. As a very small representation of our graduating class, I'm supposed to bestow upon you inspirational quotes, touching stories, $1 million words of advice, or rather $31,000 words of advice. This is in an attempt to shed some light on our circumstance of entering into an economy not likely to beg us for our wise undergraduate contribution to the professional adult world. But I'm probably not the best person to be up here today. Let's face it, as an English literature and philosophy major, I'll most likely be working at Starbucks for longer than I'm willing to admit, thinking of recycled ways to say whether or not that chair really does exist. For those of you who majored in something a little more practical, congratulations. Maybe it'll make all that student debt worth it. See, in the past 3.5 years at this institution, I've learned, among others, one vitally important skill that will hopefully keep me functioning and sane in society. That skill, learning to survive on caffeine and stress. Now, I'm sure you can all relate, whether you're a soon-to-be graduate, a current student, or even an established professional. For those of you who, by some miracle, can't relate, then I envy your ability to succeed at life and urge you to lend me your shoes, because I'm sure we would all want to know what it's like to have things 100% under control all the time. But all jokes aside, I'm not dismissing the quality or the importance of a liberal arts education, especially here at Elmhurst College. A common misconception about the undergraduate degree is that it prepares you for a specific job or career, tailoring you to be a teacher, a nurse, a philosopher, or whatever. But I'd like to think that a liberal arts education moves beyond that. It heightens our awareness of self in relation to each other and nourishes our collective understanding of the world in which we are forced to operate. So maybe the sole purpose of our education isn't to land a job, as ideal as that sounds, so stop freaking out. The Elmhurst experience is one that leaves you with an ever-widening perspective and a stronger sense of self and community. A favorite author of mine in a literature class last semester once said, his name, Bakhtin, quote, "When someone else's ideological discourse is internally persuasive for us and acknowledged by us, entirely different possibilities open up. Consciousness awakens to independent ideological life." In our 4 or so years here at Elmhurst College, we've had the opportunity to discover the voices that speak to us and receive their messages with an open mind. We were encouraged to redefine the authoritative voice, the one that tells you when to go to bed, how to do your homework, who to be, and to discover the voice within ourselves. We must find others that are also internally persuasive to us in a way that allows us to connect on a fundamental level to each other, despite the many categorical beliefs that shape our unique and varying perspectives. Our minds are challenged by what is happening around us. We've witnessed the legalization of same-sex marriage and marijuana, the re-election of President Obama, and we're able to be part of the first national institution to include an LGBT question on the admissions form. However progressive this seems, social war erupts around us, so we must keep to our youth and remain impartial. Regardless of your gender, sexual orientation, religion, or whatever extracurricular activities you choose to partake in, we, the class of 2013, have seen tremendous change in conventional ideology, and it will only continue so long as we follow through with the commitment that we made to Elmhurst College, each other, and ourselves. The execution of our ideological awakening begins now, the moment that we step off this stage. We have the choice to expand the minds of others, because we've had the opportunity to do so ourselves. I was affirmed in this after stumbling across a story on Facebook the other day. Instead of writing this speech, which, don't judge, I know we've all been there. I myself am a sucker for Facebook. Honestly, the story was about Rose, who went back to school to finish her education at the age of 87. She inspired hundreds of fellow classmates with her hunger for knowledge, life, and personal growth. The legacy she left behind was this: growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. So, as cliche as this sounds, my signing off is this: keep to your youth. Don't live by anyone's expectations but your own. I'm not here to tell you what your experience or your education means to you. Only you can do that for yourself. Just know that our worth isn't determined by the diplomas hanging on our walls, but by our own definitions of self-worth and success. We must raise each other up when others push us down. Elmhurst College taught me that, to stand up for who I am, regardless. So yes, in a way, I guess I was tailored to be someone, but not a nurse, a teacher, a student, whatever. I was tailored to be me, and each of you have grown into who you are meant to be as well. So once again, thank you, President Ray, Elmhurst College, faculty and staff, friends and family, and all of those who gave us the opportunity to walk away facing inevitable uncertainty in such a way that involves a communal understanding that despite a lack of job security and financial soundness, we're all here together, flaunting that deer-in-headlights look, diploma in hand, and a stronger sense of self. Congratulations, fellow masters and undergraduates of Elmhurst College, class of 2013, and good luck.
Thank you, Felicia, and thank you also to the Elmhurst College Wind Ensemble. I am now honored and pleased to introduce Dr. Frank Mittermeier, Director of the Dr. Dennis J. Patterson Center for Health Professions and Professor of Biology. Dr. Mittermeier is retiring at the end of this academic year after 44 years at Elmhurst College. Dr. Mittermeier taught for many years in biology, specializing in microbiology and especially virology. Dr. Mittermeier received the President's Award for Excellence in Teaching in 1988. He has published in the areas of water quality, on the dispersal of salmonella, on teaching science and study abroad courses, on advising health profession students, and my favorite, tomatoes in space. If you see him at the reception after the ceremony, do ask him to tell you about those space tomatoes. Dr. Mittermeier has also conducted collaborative research with many students on these and many other topics. In 2004, he founded the Center for Health Professions and became its first director. Dr. Mittermeier has worked tirelessly to expand the opportunities for students with shadowing and mentoring experiences, internships, and research experiences, and through partnerships with many medical schools, pharmacy schools, vet schools, and other schools offering advanced preparation for medical careers. Dr. Mittermeier also collaborated with a fellow faculty member in philosophy to create a medical humanities minor. Elmhurst College is not going to be the same without his boundless energy, his irrepressible enthusiasm, the gleam in his eye he gets when he gets excited about a new idea, and the trail of coffee cups and Diet Coke cans that follow him wherever he goes. We're going to miss you, Frank. Please join me in welcoming and in wishing well Dr. Frank Mittermeier.
Thanks, Alzada. That was pretty special. Let me use a story to share some thoughts about Elmhurst students, alumni, treasure from a season of teaching, and a quest for the national flower of Austria. Some Elmhurst College students, after a spring semester studying the alpine environment and practicing field ecology techniques, spent 2 days with biologists at the Alpine Zoo in Innsbruck, Austria, and then hiked into the Hohe Tauern National Park, which has a wild, primeval landscape and a rich diversity of animal and plant species. They were near the Grossglockner, the highest Alp in Austria, just south of the homestead, which Michael and Maria Mittermeier left behind for a new life in America. Chief biologist Martin Kurztaler said this reserve is part of 1 million hectares of precious wilderness which Europeans are documenting and safeguarding. For 6 weeks, those Elmhurst students pitched in to help do biodiversity studies on meadows and slopes. Each day, they were also given a special problem to solve. So one morning I said, today, the goal is to find edelweiss growing wild on the mountain. This is an extremely difficult challenge. Edelweiss is a small, rare, really rare, woolly white member of the sunflower family, adapted for mountain extremes. Having hiked over most of the Alps, I knew this thing only grows in rather inaccessible habitats. There was a German biologist there, and he quoted an alpine saying, "Nur die Elite kann die Edelweiss erreichen." Only the elite can reach the Edelweiss, implying that only experienced mountaineers can find their way to the Edelweiss. Their chances were slim to none. Success would require critical and constructive thinking about both the species and the mountain, and teamwork would help for sure. So who are these Edelweiss students? Well, just a few years on now, these alumni are working in fields like environmental consulting, chemistry, business management, research. There's a high school teacher, a golf pro, a veterinarian, a bioethicist, social worker, 2 college professors, speech-language pathologist, manager of a spa, 2 nurses, doctors, a journalist, a physical therapist, a dentist, and some others. Anyway, that day they searched high and wide, and they documented some plants they had not seen before, and they learned some new things about the mountain and the organisms that call it home. They strategized and worked above the timberline in teams spread out widely over a rugged landscape with marmot holes here and there. The winter snows had not fully melted on the summits, but the meadows were already full of vibrantly colored flowers. That evening, at debriefing, one student pulled a cowbell out of his backpack with Edelweiss hand-painted on it, given to him by a herdswoman who was moving cows near our base camp. Several students met an Italian biologist that day studying birds of prey, and she told of Edelweiss folklore, magic, and how it is used ethnomedicinally. Other students connected Edelweiss to economics, politics, and wartime events. Great connections between nature and culture, which was always a key goal for us. Suddenly, they broke out singing the song, Edelweiss. I'm sure they wouldn't rival this chorus here today. They weren't that bad, though. They thought this was an Austrian anthem. Dr. M, we've all seen that movie 100 times, they said. Then, very quietly, one young lady held this up. You're not going to be able to see it, but this is the real thing. The national flower of Austria, Edelweiss, and the place went wild. Everyone jumped up, high-fiving, and basically it was awesome, as they say. Really an inspiring moment. A future social worker, a woman who now has a master's degree, made this find. From that day on, every good day they had, they called an Edelweiss Day. Among all the treasure I have from a season of teaching, this ranks among my favorites. This little plant actually earned them a trip off the mountain that weekend to Venice. Weeks later, when given options for the last couple of days in Europe, they chose to visit the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, a large American hospital near Ramstein Air Base in Germany. They wanted to bring some cheer to wounded warriors, men and women back from the Middle East, and to visit with healthcare workers, and to say thank you to them all. I'd like to thank that Edelweiss group and decades of students who gave solid effort and sometimes exceptional achievement in the face of a challenge, and who through personal resiliency, caring about others, having an ability to figure out how to do things, and the wherewithal to reach their goals, have become alums and leaders, key leaders and contributors to society. It is an honor to have shared learning adventures with so many, and trekking with students and colleagues across borders, whether disciplinary borders or geographical borders, has been memorable. It leads to a new synthesis inside yourself about life and what you can contribute to your profession, family, and society. We congratulate you 2013 grads on the many challenges you've met, the borders you've crossed, the caring and service to others you've given, and the stories you have to tell. Today you cross another border, from student to alum, and we hope you'll remember to stay in touch with your alma mater. There is a nice sense of community here, and alums are an important part of that. As for me, I am in debt to so many students who have been such an important part of my life and for whom I will always retain fond memories, great respect, and affection. I wish you much success and happiness and lots of Edelweiss days ahead.
Many thanks, Dr. Mittermeier, and also to the Elmhurst College Concert Choir. Next, I have the great pleasure to bring to the podium the chair of the college's Board of Trustees, Ms. Barbara Lux. She is here today to bring us greetings from the Board of Trustees.
First of all, I would like to acknowledge my fellow trustees are here today, and I'd ask them to stand. Wes Beckton, Alan Brinkmeyer, class of 1976, Ken Bristol, former chair, Bud Lanahan, Ed Mumkus, class of 1974, Russ Wiegand, class of 1964, and James Yerbick. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I welcome the graduates, faculty, staff, administration, family, and friends who've come here today to celebrate. We know that you can't click on a newspaper, listen to a broadcast, or open up a magazine without reading some negative article on education. Headlines read, "Education, is it worth it?" Why no one needs a college education? Is college a lousy investment? In fact, the only positive I can find in any of these articles is that the average college graduate in their lifetime earns $1 million more than a non-college graduate. Congratulations, you just hit lotto. But as a person who graduated from here a few years ago, decades ago, I can tell you that that is not the value of your education. You have been exposed to broad experiences at Elmhurst College. You have met people who were not raised in your socioeconomic, geographic, or faith tradition, and you have learned from their experiences just as you have shared your experiences with them. Many of you have traveled abroad, and you see the world in the United States through a different perspective. You were challenged by that really demanding professor who kept telling you, you can do better. So you worked harder, you learned, and you felt a sense of accomplishment. You've participated in sports and found that negotiating the personalities on a team, knew that was going to happen, isn't always easy. But reaching the goal together is much more rewarding. One day you realize that because you have a liberal arts education, that you don't problem solve from one direction, but rather you approach a problem solving from multiple disciplines. You took that course because it was a requirement, and you found your life's passion. So hey, enjoy your extra million, but it's a paltry sum compared to the value of your education. The Board of Trustees congratulates all our graduates and the families who have stood beside them. As our alma mater says, loyal be thy sons and daughters.
Thank you, Ms. Lux. I turn now to our president to offer some remarks, and am pleased to bring to the podium Dr. Alan Ray, president of the college and professor of religion and society.
To you, our students, and to your parents and friends, to our faculty, to our trustees, and to our invited guests, welcome. Welcome to this wonderful day in the life of the college and the lives of our graduates. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you get what you need. These are the words of ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. And if you believe that, you've been living under a rock. Or should I say a stone, because they are, of course, the words of that hard-working, hard-partying, appropriately described sexagenarian Mick Jagger. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you get what you need. Each of you came to Elmhurst College in search of something you wanted very much. So why did you come? Mulling this over, I think there are at least 5 reasons that I can think of, which are in ascending order of wonderfulness. 1, because everybody goes to college, right? Not so great. 2, to be entertained for 4 years and or get away from mom and dad. Nah, that's still not so great. Now, 3, to get on track for a good professional future. All right, that sounds like all of you. 4, to learn about this very complex world. Wonderful still. Or 5, to become a better, more grounded, more far-sighted person. So after your years with us, I ask you, class of 2013, did you get what you wanted? Did you get what you need? Did you try? When you arrived, some of you may remember I urged you at convocation to use this time for what I called the exquisite work of the self. To let go of your old self and take a leap into the unknown, to reinvent yourself through liberal education and what we call self-formation. If you did this, you really probably are a better, more grounded, more far-sighted person than when you first entered. So did you try? Did you get what you need? Have you noticed that people seem to have a really hard time distinguishing needs and wants? I have young children for whom there is no distinction between what they want moment to moment and what they truly need. That may resonate with some of you. Most of the time, it's up to my wife, Angela, and me to decide for them, as parents do, what our kids actually need, right? The nutritious food over the junk food, PBS Kids over Adult Swim. Yeah, it's a good one. That's Dad's channel. In college, the role of the wise parent, what we previously heard, the authoritative voice a moment ago, is often played by the rules we've laid down for getting a degree. For example, the rules say you must take general education courses when you'd much rather take those classes in your major. And one important reason you had to take those gen eds was to expose you to the range of intellectual possibilities that you could pursue as a career path. So we tried hard to change the manner of your engagement with the college from an instrumental, quote unquote, the customer is king sort of relationship, where all you're really about getting is what you want, to a relationship where you really get the benefit of the place, where our faculty, primarily, even administrators, coaches, and your fellow students guided you and even mentored you in a purpose that was not a predetermined journey, but a journey of self-discovery. So in fact, you could say that liberal education and its college environment is all about helping you learn to distinguish what you want from what you need. And what you need, in the end, I suggest, is a calling. Not just a job, though of course that too, but something really far more important, a vocation. A source of energy, an object, a passion, a path in life, perhaps the first of several, that speaks to you in a way that's unique to your talents, to your life, and your values. The other good things you found interest in and discovered you had an aptitude for, I really think should become subsidiary to your emerging vocation. They become, of course, avocations. And I often tell students that they shouldn't try to make a career out of everything they find themselves interested in. If they do, they'll be overwhelmed with the sheer potential of it all. All of us can and should focus on one thing at a time, while enjoying the rest of our passions as hobbies or pastimes, or at most as candidates for new vocations. Learning to discern your vocation from the real but subsidiary interest you hold is a mark of maturity, since it implies your ability to prioritize and to organize your life experiences and goals. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. As you prepare to cross the threshold into this next phase of your life, I hope you received what you most need: a calling, a vocation, a sense of where you alone can make a difference in the world. Now, it may not happen all at once. Big things really do take time, and your calling may change as you change, and certainly mine has. But if you engaged in self-formation and took advantage of this rich educational opportunity set available to you, if in short, you tried, it's possible and it's even likely that right now you have a better sense of where you're headed in life than you did when you entered Elmhurst College. At a time when students are really rightly concerned about their futures in a tangible way, graduate school or a first professional job, I know it's very difficult to keep in perspective that employment should be in the service of vocation, not vocation in the service of employment. If you really remember nothing else of these remarks, please remember this: employment should be in the service of vocation, not vocation in the service of employment. So we're rightly concerned that you have the knowledge, training, and skills to compete effectively in a job market. But it seems sometimes that higher education, I think, has fallen enthralled with helping students acquire maximum technical proficiencies in some field or another at the expense of facilitating their self-formation as women and men of intellectual curiosity, experience, good character, sound judgment, and deep compassion. Of course, I hope each of you has found or soon will find rewarding vocation-driven employment or graduate study. But if you must pursue that goal for some time yet, please bear in mind that the hours and the care that you've put into discerning your path in life through the work of your mind and your heart and your hands is not in vain. Rather, your exquisite work of the self is the very precondition for a lifetime of professional and personal satisfaction. And I urge you never to cease in that work. Never someday rest on the assumption that because your material life matches your ambitions, your life is complete, tied up in a neat bow, and you can just call it quits and start mailing it in at work or at home or in your marriage or in your community. Because if you stop working on your self-formation, the result, what is it? Think about it. The result is boredom. Boredom is our experience of self when we believe all meaningful possibilities in a situation have been exhausted. Boredom is what happens when we get everything we think we want. And if you wish not to be bored, understand self-formation as a fundamental, always unfinished ethical obligation of yourself in the present to yourself in the future. You do, as we say, quote unquote, owe it to yourself to see your life as more than the accumulation of successes and failures and material possessions. If boredom comes from satiating our desires, personal satisfaction comes from following our vocations. When we respond to that calling sincerely and consistently, we find that our lives open up and become suffused with energy and creativity. We face the risks inherent in the future with greater confidence. And strangely, but almost inevitably, we become leaders of others in search of their vocations. In short, we get what we need. I truly hope more than anything that Elmhurst College has been a catalyst in stimulating your self-formation and that we've helped prepare you for professional and personal futures that are inspired by and driven by your unique passions and talents. My wish for every one of you is that you'll always understand the difference between wanting and needing, and that above all, you try. Because you never know, like the song says, if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Thank you.
towards nothing on this desolate road. I'm searching for comfort, a place to call my own. I'm scared of where I'm heading. When will this fear subside? When will I find the answer? The questions in my mind, like why the sky is blue
Thank you, President Ray and the concert choir. Will the candidates for the degrees of Master of Business Administration, Master of Science in Computer Information Systems, Master of Education in Teacher Leadership, Master of Arts in English Studies, and Master of Professional Accountancy please stand? Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Music, and Bachelor of Fine Arts please stand? Graduates, in keeping with the traditions of this ceremony, you may now move your tassels to the left side of your mortarboard. Graduates, your family and friends are gazing upon you right now with love, satisfaction, pride, and relief. I offer you a chance to turn around and thank them. Smile, wave, blow kisses, and tell them how much it means to you that they have helped you. President Ray, I present these candidates for graduation from Elmhurst College with the degrees indicated on their diplomas.
Thank you. You're not going to get what you need till I read this. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Elmhurst College, I confer upon you the bachelor's degree or the master's degree that the faculty has recommended for you with all the privileges and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. And now I call on you to come forward individually to receive the diploma certifying your degree. 50 years from now, one of you will be asked back to shake the hands of the members of the class of 2063. Today, you will all be welcomed into the distinguished company of Elmhurst College graduates by Elmhurst College alumni Bill and Jane Batt, class of 1963. Please come forward now to be recognized.
And I am happy to bring to the podium Dr. Deatra Sullivan Morgan, Associate Professor of Communication Arts and Sciences, who will call the roll of the graduates.
Girija Shankar Jana. Sanayad Lupazanovic. William George Polachek. John Wojciechowski. Kelly K. Weber. Lisa K. Capsa. Rosa M. Abruscato. Rose Ashley Atkins. Maria Antonia Agra. Sandra Aguirre Lavano. Rubina Ahmed. Peter V. Alfano. Teresa M. Amadola. Eric James Anderson. Christina E. Anderson, summa cum laude. John M. Anderson. Kayla C. Arbuthnot, magna cum laude. Jessica K. Bailey, magna cum laude. Samantha M. Barca. Gerald S. Beach, Jr. Gina M. Belmont. James J. Berry. Alexander M. Batance, Jr. Nicholas C. Bond. Eva M. Breacham. Kathleen L. Brettel, cum laude. Amanda M. Briones. Brian George Brooks. Jennifer L. Brooks. William Blaine Brown. Brian D. Budvitis. Gina L. Casapio, summa cum laude. Angel G. Cantu, Jr. Christine E. Karen, cum laude. Dominica C. Casada. Allison C. Chambers, summa cum laude. Robin L. Cook, magna cum laude. Dustin Cooper. James V. Critchfield, Jr. William R. Darzens. Francesca Anna DeFeo, magna cum laude. Jacob B. Denhoff. Felicia A. Diaz, cum laude. Joshua L. Durker, magna cum laude. Sarah A. Doherty. Lauren A. Donner. Ryan J. Early. Andrew J. Eklund. Catherine A. Engelsdorfer. Sindel M. Erdman. Michael Evans. Matthew A. Fellini. Katie M. Fiore. Nicholas Fiore, Jr. Ashley M. Flood. Matthew C. Forster. Jeremy J. Foy. Brian R. Francis. Rachel A. Frazen, magna cum laude. Brad L. Kapinski. Ashley S. Gatto, magna cum laude. Timothy E. Geislinger. Griffin J. Gibson. Melissa S. Giese, summa cum laude. Toby M. Glenn. Casey K. Godek. Alyssa M. Gorecki. Samantha T. Gorgon, cum laude. Mariola Grzybowska, magna cum laude. Carly L. Guzikowski. April M. Hansen, cum laude. Catherine Elizabeth Hardison, summa cum laude. Catherine M. Howley, magna cum laude. Courtney E. Hayes, summa cum laude. Elizabeth A. Holesha, magna cum laude. Thomas M. Icovetti. Stephanie N. Iori. Letitia M. Jackson. Michael E. Jacobson, magna cum laude. Danielle C. Johnson. Colleen E. Kelly, cum laude. Megan E. Kirby, summa cum laude. Rebecca L. Klinger. Cynthia R. Konechny. Kelly A. Kotlow. William D. Kokel. Kevin L. Kramer. Melissa C. Langford. Elizabeth M. Letty. Dean A. Laventes. Abigail L. Lohan. Joseph F. Luft. Jonita Mustasa. Rebecca A. Mattioli, cum laude. Byron J. McGuire. Mary Agnes McLaughlin. Michelle E. Medenas. Frank Anthony Minolacino, cum laude. Gina M. Minolacino. J. Miao. Daniel S. Michaels. Aaron G. Minnis, magna cum laude. Corey Ann Mitchell. Michelle T. Morelli, summa cum laude. Christine B. Murphy, cum laude. Matthew R. Murray. Vahida V. Musabji. Lindsay A. Nauman, cum laude. Scott A. Neatley. Robert E. Nelson. Kristen M. Nimick, cum laude. Adam D. Nicholson, cum laude. Sylvia Nemaski, cum laude. Jessica L. Noble, magna cum laude. Leslie E. Northcutt, magna cum laude. Katrina T. Nutini, cum laude. Taylor D. O'Kee, cum laude. Kevin M. Orlowski. Veronica Ortega. Bernadette R. Panic. Ariel C. Parks, cum laude. Mackenzie L. Perry, cum laude. Julie L. Partika, cum laude. Leanne T. Pinchar. Monique M. Perkins, magna cum laude. Brenda Perrone, magna cum laude. Kimberly J. Pickett, cum laude. Sean P. Plagey. Danielle Christine Plutz. Caitlin K. Profita. Jonathan B. Ryman, magna cum laude. Rita E. Riccio, magna cum laude. Nicholas M. Robinson. Margaret M. Roycroft. Tamara O. Rudenko. Christopher A. Rust. Lindsay M. Ryan, magna cum laude. Christine Catherine Ritz. Marino Salerno. Yvonne R. Santiago. Kimberly A. Schaefer, summa cum laude. Jeffrey L. Shams. Joshua S. Schmidt. Samantha M. Schneider, cum laude. Timothy E. Schreiner. Catherine J. Schrader, magna cum laude. Stephen Sarah. Jacob D. Shaver. Calix C. Scholender, magna cum laude. Pamela Silva. Ian M. Symington. Victoria M. Simone. Callie C. Sergetis, cum laude. Michael Anthony Size, cum laude. Joanna Skidopoulos. Mark F. Smolinski. Navina R. Softkina. Jonathan Joseph Stramaglia. Kristen L. Skutlarek. Rebecca M. Tannehill, cum laude. Mary E. Thompson, cum laude. Stephanie C. Thompson. Brittany J. Trudeau. Vincent A. Velez. Tania J. Vega. Lisa Marie Venable. Ulvi Verdezada. Victoria N. Visser, magna cum laude. Ryan T. Walsh.
Yay, Ryan.
Susan M. Walters. Jennifer A. Warndorf. Maxwell L. Wiesman, magna cum laude. Melissa Mildred Wilkins. Patricia A. Wilk. Sequoia M. Williams.
Yay.
J. Thomas Willis, Sr. Amanda J. Woolham. Rose A. Waisaki, magna cum laude. Lindsay C. Young. Jacqueline Andrea Zagretsky. Sarah E. Zalisko. Candace L. Zebart, magna cum laude. Anthony J. Zelinsky. Veronica M. Zickmund.
Sit down. You may be seated. In a moment, I promise, our ceremony will conclude, but I would like to invite you to a continuation of the celebration, a reception in the Founders Lounge of the Frick Center. And now I would like to invite to the podium the Reverend H. Scott Matheny, chaplain of the college, to lead us in a rousing rendition of the alma mater, and then to offer the benediction.
About the president's charge. But before you sing with me, we are going to bring our dear President Ray to offer a charge to the graduating class. Dr. Ray, sir.
Sorry to stand between you and singing the alma mater. It's risky. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the faculty of Elmhurst College, I speak to you graduates one last time as you complete your years as students and join the ranks of alumni of this college. The founders who built and nourished the school here in Elmhurst, the thousands of students who've walked this campus over the years, and all of those who've contributed to your education are also speaking to you. You now bear an honorable name, and you live in a world that desperately needs what that name stands for. You know, in front of the Frick Center, you may remember inscribed in the wall, These words of the 6th president of Elmhurst College, H. Richard Niebuhr. The most urgent need of the present generation is light and warmth, the light of knowledge, and the warmth of high idealism. Niebuhr said that over 80 years ago, but it's just as true today. So I charge you, as you say farewell to Elmhurst College, to remember what it was like being part of a true community of learners, to live fully and well, and to lavish part of a true community on the world around you, lavishing the light and the warmth that you carry within yourselves. With pride in your accomplishments, high expectations for the years ahead, and hopeful to see you and hear from you often in the years to come. Your alma mater says to each and every one of you, as do I, well done, and Godspeed.
Let us all stand and let us sing the alma mater together. To you, the alums of the class of 2013, alums, now is your chance. Wade in the water is a great song of our traditions. To wade in the water, wade in that water, for God's gonna trouble the water. Now is your moment. Now is your time. With thanks to God, and for some of you with margaritas with your mom in a bit, joy to all. And now, may you go forth with God's love and grace. And may the God who created this college, the God who birthed us, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up upon you and give you peace this day and forevermore. Amen. Let's go, class.